We are live. We are live. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, we are live. And this morning here on Man Talk Live, I have a question for you. Are you a man who feels like you're stuck and you're just going through the motions and you're not making any progress? Your life is not making an impact? Well, this morning I want to share with you 5 important tips that's going to help you to be able to make progress and make an impact in your life and those that your life touches. And we're starting right now. Praise the Lord, everyone. Welcome to Man Talk Live, where we share helpful tips to inspire men like yourself to raise the standard of manhood, not just in your life, but in the generations to come, so that you can be a great husband, a devoted father, and a man of integrity. And as we said this morning, we're going to get into 5 important tips that's going to help you to get unstuck, to stop going through the motions, and make an impact in your life. And so if you're new here this morning, let me know in the chat where you're watching me from. Give me a hashtag Team Live in the chat. And if you're watching the replay, give me a hashtag Team Replay in the comment section. And as we said in our opening this morning, we're going to get into 5 important tips to help you to make an impact in your life, in the world, and those that your life comes in contact with. And so do me a favor, grab a pen, grab a pad. It's time to go to work here on Man Talk Live. So, which brings me to my first tip. How do you make an impact in your life and in the world and those that your life comes in contact with? Tip number 1, you live out your faith. Live out your faith that you have in God. You live out your faith unto Him by trusting and standing on His promises for your life. You live out your faith not by your emotions and your feelings. You live out your faith not by being a prisoner of the moment, but you trusting and believing God that He has a plan and a purpose for your life, that He knows the thoughts that He thinks towards you, thoughts of peace, not of evil, but to give you an expected end, to give you a hope and a future. And if you do these things by living out your faith, not by your emotions, not by sight, but by trusting in His word, you're going to make an impact that first glorifies Him, and secondly, that impacts and influences the life of others that says, I want to get to know this God you serve. And the question that I have for you simply is this: are you living out your faith? Are you letting your light shine before men that they can see your faith through the good works that will glorify Him? Because you do realize living out your faith is going to become accompanied with works and evidence. The works and evidence of how you live as a husband, the works and evidence in how you raise your children as a father, the works and evidence in how you demonstrate and be a man of integrity and keep your word. And unfortunately, too many of us as men, the reason why we are stuck, we feel like we are not making progress, and we're just going through the motions. We get up in the morning, we put our clothes on, we go to work, we earn a paycheck, we come back home, we ask, honey, what's for dinner? We eat dinner. We may have a little conversation with the kids. We go to bed and we start our day all over again. We are assembly men on an assembly line going through the motions, feeling stuck, and we don't live out our faith. And as a result, we're not making any impact. But if you trust God with your life, you trust Him with the things that concern you, you're going to see Him not just make an impact and a change in the things that you're concerned about, but in you first. Which brings me to my next tip: having a prayer life. Having a prayer life. Having a prayer life where you spend time with God on your knees. You spend time with God with your hands surrendered, reaching out to Him. Prayer should not be viewed as a man's last resort. Prayer should be a man's first response. You know what I'm talking about. God, if you get me through this situation this one time, I pray that I'll do better. If you get me out of this circumstance this one time, I'll go to church. If you get me out of this circumstance or this situation just this one time, I'll be a better husband. I'll be a better father. And when He gets you out of the situation, we go back to business as usual because we viewed prayer as a last resort and not a first response. And so developing a prayer life is about understanding that prayer is a two-way conversation with God where you spend time talking to Him and then you allow Him to talk back to you. The question that I have for you is, do you have a prayer life? And if you do, is it a strong prayer life? Is it a prayer life that you view prayer as your first response, that when you put your feet on the floor, you're talking to Him? You're thanking Him for giving you the activity of your limbs, giving you the breath in your body? Or you see prayer as a last resort, as simply, God, if you get me out of this situation this time, I pray with your help, I'll go to church. Which brings me to my third point: being a man who's willing to persevere through tough times. When we look at today's times, and in particular in this country, people are going through some very difficult and tough times. Just take some of the recent events that's happened with the weather. People have experienced wildfires, the loss of property and homes, and unfortunately, loss of loved ones, thousands of acres and real estate, businesses, homes, all been devastated. And then you have severe storms like tornadoes, hurricanes, floods, and other types of things that has been devastating this country. And maybe you are a man in your family where you've been blessed and fortunate that that hasn't happened to. But that still doesn't change the fact that you're still not going through a storm. You may not be going through a hurricane of severe winds and floods, but you're going through a hurricane, a storm in your life and in your heart and your mind. A storm that says, I've lost my job because I was working for the government, and now I've lost my job. And not only did I lose my job, but my wife has lost her job. And at one time there was two incomes, one income. Now there's no income in the home. Can you persevere through these tough times by you living out your faith and having a prayer life and talking to God that says, you are my first response? You may have not been impacted by the wildfires that we've seen on the West Coast to the East Coast, but there are some fires, wildfires that are burning in your home with your children and your sons and your daughters. There are some wildfires that are burning in your relationship with your wife. Are you able to persevere through these tough times? Are you able to persevere so that you can get to the other side, knowing that when you get to the other side, God has got you. He's got you and your family. And if you can do that, it's going through the tough times that you will begin to see that you are making an impact. How are you making an impact? First of all, the impact is happening because you're letting God do something in you first. The impact is happening because you're going through the pressure that should cause you to burst, like, because pressure does burst pipes, but you're not a pipe, you're a diamond. And so the pressure is making and fashioning and molding you as a diamond. And so you're making an impact that's going to be a witness to others, to encourage them that, hey, if God did that for him, he can do that for me. I'm talking about real issues, real talk, real solutions. And so how do you get unstuck? How do you stop going through the motions? You persevere through tough times that will help you to make an impact, not just in your life, not just in your household, but in the life of others who are able to bear witness of what God has brought you through. Hey, if you're getting great value out of this episode of Man Talk Live, do me a favor. Click that like button for me. Share this on your favorite social media platform. And be encouraged in knowing that you can make an impact in your life and in the life of others. Which brings me to my next point, my next tip. Live out your life with bold obedience. Live out your life with bold obedience. What do I mean by that? Living out your life with bold obedience means that you understand, as you trust God, you put your faith in God and not in the world, not in yourself. There's going to be controversy. When you live out your life with bold obedience, you have come to the conclusion that you understand there's going to be criticism. But despite the controversy, despite the criticism, you are going to live out your faith and your trust in God with bold obedience. And as you do that, you will begin to make an impact in your life, in your household, in your community, and in the world. I want you to think about Noah. God told Noah to build an ark. And Noah began to grab the resources, the wood, the things that he needed to build this ark. I can imagine his sons said to him, "Dad, what are you doing?" "I'm building an ark." "Why are you building an ark?" "It's going to rain." "What's rain?" "God said it's going to rain. We have to build an ark." "But Dad, there's no water here. We're thousands of miles away from water." But guess what? He had bold obedience. And his sons saw this, and they began to help him. I can only imagine the wives of the sons. Noah's wife said, "What are you doing?" "We're building an ark." "For what?" "It's going to rain." "What's that?" He said, "God told me to build an ark." And he did it with bold obedience. You see the impact that starts in the home? You see the impact that starts in your relationship with your spouse and your children? And then the community began to say, "Noah, what are you doing? Why are you building this what looks like to be a big boat? There's no water here." "Building an ark because God said it's going to rain." "What's that?" He got controversy. He got criticism. But he kept building the ark. After they finished building the ark, the sons probably said, "Dad, look at the animals. They're 2x2. They're coming this way. The birds, the giraffes, the elephant, the lions. Oh my, lions, tigers, and bears. Noah said, let them come in the ark. Why? It's going to rain. Bold obedience. What about you? What about you, my brother? What about you? Let me take my glasses off here. Let me take my glasses off so you can you can see me. What about you? What is God telling you to build? What is God telling you to do? What major decision is God asking you to make? That requires bold obedience. And if you do it, despite the controversy, despite the criticism, you're willing to have bold obedience so you can make an impact in your household and in your family and those that your life comes in contact with. Hey, if you're getting great value out of this episode of Man Talk Live, do me a favor. Click that like button for me. Share this on your favorite social media platform. And if you're new to the Real Men Rising YouTube channel, hit the subscribe button, click the alert notification button, and be a part of the conversation of real men that is raising the standard of manhood, not just in their life, but in the generations to come. Which brings me to my final tip. Not only live your life with bold obedience, but live your life leaving a legacy. How do you leave a legacy for the generations to come, for your sons, your daughters, your household, your family? It starts with your name as a man. It starts with your name. I believe it says in the book of Proverbs that a good name is better to have than wealth and riches. When people think of your name, do they view your name as good, or do they view your name as a name that invokes pain? You do remember the story of Jabez, right? Whose mother birthed him in pain. And so she called him Jabez. It's interesting. Nothing is ever mentioned about the dad at his birth. But I would probably imagine he caused her a lot of pain. And now she has to birth Jabez, give life to Jabez, and she calls him sorry thing. She calls him pain. But when Jabez gets old enough, he calls out to God and says, bless me indeed. Enlarge my territory. He didn't want his name to be associated with pain. He wanted to have a good name. You leave a legacy by your name. Not only do you leave a legacy by your name, but you leave a legacy by your name because your identity is tied with your name. Purpose is tied with your name. You not only leave a legacy through your name, but you leave a legacy in terms of how you love your family, how you love your wife. Are you a man who's demonstrating to others that you can be married to one woman for 50 years or more? Maybe you are like me, who came from generations before you, whose grandfather was married to two women, got married, got divorced, and then got married a second time. Or you had a father who got married once to your mother, got divorced, got married to another person, got divorced, and then had a whatchamacallit. You leave a legacy by demonstrating that God can't bless you with one woman, so that your sons and daughters and others can see you do have a good name. You are a man who is a faithful husband. You are a man who is a devoted father. That you're not whack the temptations and saying, Papa got a rolling stone. Papa's got a rolling stone. You got a son on this side of the town, a daughter on the east side of town, and twins on the north side of town. No. When you get ready to go to bed at night, you look in the room, your children are there. When you wake up in the morning, you look and at the breakfast table, your children are there. They're not on different parts of the city. You leave a legacy. How you live and take care of your family. You leave a legacy in terms of how you conduct and carry yourself in the workplace. Are you a person that your employer sees as you've added value? God forbid if something happened to you and people had to come to your funeral, would your company, with a representation of management and employees and friends, come to your funeral and bear witness that you had a good name, that you were a person of added value? That's how you leave a legacy as a man. And so, how do you stop going through the motions? How do you get unstuck? You leave a legacy. Now, you may say, well, Walter, I don't know if that's possible for the ordinary man like myself. I'm glad you made that statement. Let me share this with you right quick. 2 weeks ago, my assistant pastor went home to be with the Lord and passed away. And last week we had his homegoing service. But I wanted to share just a little about his legacy that he's passed on. He truly was a man who lived out his faith. He lived out his faith by letting his light shine before men to glorify God through his life that he lived. He not only talked the talk, he walked the walk. He was a man who had a prayer life, not just in church, but he prayed for his family. He prayed for his wife, who so happens to be my senior pastor, Dr. Apostle Catherine Corbett. He prayed for her every morning. He prayed for his sons. He prayed for his grandchildren. He prayed for members in the church when he came in during prayer time, and he would just go from row to row. He had a prayer life. He was a man who knew how to live his life and demonstrate what it meant to go through tough times and persevere. He was a man who was willing to demonstrate what it meant to have bold obedience in helping those that are in need, who needed shelter, who were homeless, who needed food. He was a man who left a legacy, who had a good name, who was viewed as a man, as a family man, as a man of God. I want to read to you just quickly, just some of the things that was said about him by my senior pastor, his wife. A beloved leader, an assistant pastor, Pastor Corbett, listen now, deeply impacted others through his dedication. He impacted with his love, his faith, and his kindness and dedication in serving God and others. So if you're saying this is not possible for the ordinary man, there you have it. There you have it. He was a man who ran track and field at one time in his life, and he understood in track and field there was a stick that had to be passed on to the next runner in the race of the leg of the race. And so you would take the stick and say, stick. And then ultimately, whoever the anchor was, they would run and finish the race. Today, he's still passing the stick to us as men to be great husbands, to be devoted fathers, and to be men of integrity. The question that I have for you is, are you willing to pass the stick and keep running? Or will you continue to stay stuck? Will you continue to go through the motions? If that's you, this episode is to encourage you. Take hold of the stick. Keep running. I wanted to do this episode in such a way to encourage you, but to honor the life and legacy of my pastor, Eddie Bernard Corbett, to thank him for passing the baton, passing the stick. Enough said. Hey, if you've gotten great value out of this episode, do me a favor. Click the like button. Share this on your favorite social media platform. And if you are new to the Real Men Rising YouTube channel, subscribe to the channel and be a part of the conversation of real men that are raising the standard of manhood, not just in this generation, but in the generations to come. Hey, we'll see you in the next episode of Man Talk Live. God bless.